you know it's what I always wanted. Could never have too many things. Well, you quit kicking me under the table. I'm trying, will somebody make us shut up about it? Can we settle down,
Shalom, this is your Ark. Yah is magnified, coming back with another informative video. I titled this video, Texas Testimony. But before I tackle this subject, as always, I must state for the record, I'm not a lawyer, I do not practice law, and I do not pretend to. All my videos are for informational and educational purposes only. They're all facts and all truth, nothing more, nothing less. So with that being said, let's get to it. Okay, so I have my Ark on the phone, but before I let him speak, I want to go over his court documents with you all, so we can see what have taken place. So at the top, you can see that the order was filed November the 29th, 2018 at 9:45 a.m. I crossed out the non-custodial parent name and the custodial parent name and the case numbers. I crossed all that out. I crossed out, and the case numbers. As you can see, I crossed out the mother's name and said that she appeared in person. And I crossed out my Ark name, who was on the phone, who also appeared in person that they marked. And at the bottom of the screen, at the bottom of the order, it states that it is found that the court has jurisdiction of the parties and the subject matter of this suit, and that the following orders are in the best interest of the children. So let's go to the next page. And it states, it ordered that the office of the Attorney General motion is denied. So like we heard in the video, the motion was denied when he was in court. So let's go to the last page. And the last page is just a summary of the order. But notice they crossed out proposed order at the top, where it says associate judge's opposed order. Proposed order, they crossed out proposed order and a few other statements in the document. And it was signed the 28th day of November 2018. All right, so you ready, Ark?
I'm ready.
All right, floor is yours.
It was a very ambiguous case. And I'll tell you that a few things just kind of stuck out to me. One was my case was the only case. I got there at 9:10. Or about between 9:05 and 9:10. My case was not heard until 4:35 p.m. So we were there for a very long time, and as you stated earlier, the actual hearing was maybe 2 to 3 minutes max. It was pretty quick. But one of the things is, my case was the only case that I saw that the judge literally pulled out the microphone and the recording. And if you hear in the very beginning of the testimony, or the hearing, she says there's going to be an audio recording, and it's also on page 2 of the documents, made by audio recording. No other case had audio recorded from the judge, so the judge literally pulled out a microphone and tape recorder and audio recorded it. And as you noted earlier, and I know you've noted this in several of your other videos, they don't want you to speak. She didn't want me to speak. She cut me off immediately. Didn't want me saying anything. Was very frustrated by my appearance. It was almost as she was literally very frustrated with me from the very beginning. And obviously because they don't want you prevailing in court. The state courts, in my opinion, they're colluding with the Attorney General against you.
Yes, indeed.
And they're on the mother's side. They're colluding with the Attorney General, against you. And in the very beginning, when the Attorney General called my name, she was very, very nice, very respectful, until she found out that my intentions were to get the case dismissed. She was very baffled. She didn't really know what to do. Her eyes kind of popped out like, what? What do you mean? And I said, yeah, I'm here to get this case dismissed. And I should have given her a copy of the special appearance and affidavit as you said, but I was a little confused at the time. I thought I was just going to give it to the judge. She never asked for it.
Right.
However, one of the other things that really kind of baffled me was the Attorney General walked back into the judge's chambers, came back to the Attorney General's office, because they had an office in that court, a closed office, and then went back into the judge's chambers, and that's where she, in my opinion, this is where collusion took place. She told the judge what I was there to do. The judge had her, and this is just my opinion, had her go file an order concerning community supervision, which basically, if you look that up under Texas law, it means that you're giving them the ability to throw you in jail.
Right.
She wanted to revoke my probation, which I wasn't on probation. I've never been on probation for child support.
Right.
So the other thing too that is very important to note. Now, when you hear that video, let me tell you that Attorney General was completely nervous. She didn't know what she was doing. She did not know what she was saying. They're not used to these types of cases. They don't know how to handle them, obviously. Because one of the things that she said, it's really kind of funny. She said that she wanted the court to take notice of the child support order dating back to 2007. Well, I was still married to her in 2007. We hadn't even had our third child at the time.
Right.
So what she was probably trying to say was 2017. She was too nervous. She didn't know what she was doing. So initially, when the judge denied the state's motion, the Attorney General's motion, I really didn't catch it because I was very nervous, and I would tell the audience that you have to really, really calm down and don't be afraid of that, because you will prevail if you're seeking remedy. Follow Yah's magnified advice. He knows what he's doing. I was very nervous. I didn't know that I prevailed. And what is also kind of baffling to me is the judge, in all the other cases except mine, she issued judgment.
Right.
She did not issue any judgment on my case. All she did was deny the Attorney General motion. She didn't give me anything, didn't tell me anything. The Attorney General had to tell me that I prevailed. She said it twice in that video. You prevailed. You're free to go. You prevailed. You prevailed. When I asked for the documentation, you could tell I was very nervous, obviously, but when I asked for the documentation, she said, there is no documentation. You're denied. Or I denied their motion. So, it's really, it's baffling. You've, I guess going back to, what you've said before, and you've said this all along, they don't want the audience to know, and there was still plenty of audience there. By that time, a lot of people were already moving forward. But initially, I would say there were somewhere around 200 people in that courtroom. And then by the time my case was heard, there were maybe 25 still waiting to be heard. So, yeah, I'm glad I prevailed. I didn't know I prevailed until, like I said, the Attorney General told me twice.
Right.
But I was expecting to hear the judge tell me something. Tell me that the state's motion was denied, you're free to go. The judge didn't say anything. It was the Attorney General.
Right. Only thing
said, I'm right. So it was almost as if she's the one who had jurisdiction. It was really weird. You don't expect the Attorney General to tell you that you won the case. You expect the judge. But going back to what you were saying, yeah, they might have had subject matter jurisdiction, but they did not have personal jurisdiction. That's why the judge wouldn't hear me, wouldn't look at me. She didn't want to have anything to do with me.
Yeah, you said she was mad. You said she was pissed off at you and your child.
Yeah, she was. Right, and yeah, I mean, the only one that really wasn't mad was the Attorney General. To be honest with you, she was just kind of baffled, just as much as I was. And she was very nervous. You could tell she was nervous because she didn't know how to argue the case. And I did what you told me. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to state facts. Facts are, the court does not have subject matter jurisdiction or personal jurisdiction. So, however that took place in the eyes of the judge, she didn't want to have anything to do with that. All she wanted to do was get the case out of her court by denying the Attorney General's motion to revoke a probation that didn't even exist.
Right. It never even exists from the beginning. But like I said, they need your consent to go in them courts and play their game with them. And once you do that, then they have you. But you never played their game. You just stop. I always tell everybody, stay on topic. Stay on topic. You stay on topic, you will win.
Right.
And you went in there, you stayed on topic. Next thing you know, 2 minutes later, you was walking out of there, happy, because you called me. You was like, I prevailed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, there's a second part to this fight that everybody needs to know too. And look, I care for my children completely. It breaks my heart because when you do this, you're obviously going to upset the mother. I'm not here to not pay child support. I pay child support. I'm here to get the Attorney General off my back. I don't want them to have anything to do with it. They weren't, you weren't involved in making these children. You weren't involved in anything. And, there's also, there's a lot to the Attorney General that I disagree with. I don't want them, involved in my life. Unfortunately, if she believes that I'm making more money, whether I am or I'm not, the Attorney General has her back, and so do the courts. And we're not fighting fair when we do that. When you go to the courts, and I heard multiple cases. I'm just listening and watching these guys just get beat up by the Attorney General and the courts and all their demands. And at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with the children. On page 1 of this document, it is found that this is in the best interest of the children. They don't know what's in the best interest of the children. That's not what they're there for. They could care less what's in the best interest of the children, in my opinion, because I never once heard the court, the Attorney General, or the judge ask anything about children in any case that was heard before mine.
Right. They just want to know about the debt.
They just want to know about the debt. At the end of the day, this is a commercial debt, and the courts, the Attorney General is a third-party debt collector.
That's it.
They completely, that's all they are. So, my children's mother was very distraught, very upset, telling me that the judge and the Attorney General, after I left, they were laughing and mocking me, and that the judge said that she was going to put a warrant out for my arrest, and that if I try and pick up my children today, that the constable's going to arrest me, and that all this stuff. It's just all a bunch of baloney.
Right. We know it's not true. Right.
Yeah, I called the courts. And I actually went yesterday when I gave you the copies of these documents, the hearing. There's a tab on the Denton County website that basically says, okay, here's where I get my documents, and there's a tab that says active warrants. And I clicked on that tab, and it says there are no active warrants on this case. So then I called the Denton County warrant office, and they said, no, there's no active warrants. I called yesterday, and then I called today right before I called you.
Right.
So, they're scare tactics. She also said that the Attorney General and the judge told her that she did not have to let me see the children, which is just crazy.
Right.
Because why would the judge and the Attorney General say that? I'm not saying that they did, and I'm not saying that they didn't. But if they did, you're directly violating a prior order by doing that.
Exactly.
Because the order says she has to let me see the children.
Yeah, she have to let you see the children. She can't violate the order. So,
right.
Most of the stuff she said was because she was upset.
Right.
And I told everybody, if the best way to fight your child's mom is to win against the agency, it gets no better than that. Because if you just want to go back and forth with them, you will get nowhere. It's just, you have to do what you have to do. What's for the best interest for yourself and for your children. Because like you stated, they can care less about your offspring, your seed. They just want money.
Yeah, that's correct. And one of the main reasons that I'm using you, and I gave my donation, was because I truly feel that when you get the Attorney General out of the way, then you can continue a good relationship with the mother, especially when you're paying your child support and you're seeing your children. Because when the Attorney General gets their nose out of the way and the state gets out of the way, courts get out of the way, then you have that natural relationship that you had before. Even though you divorced and you're living two separate lives, she does not have Big Brother on her back, the Attorney General, that's going to challenge me. And it's like when you owe anybody a debt, whether it's a best friend or family member, it puts you in a different position because they're in a position of they owe you money.
Right.
So when you change that perspective, then I don't owe her any money anymore, not according to the Attorney General or the courts. Now every dollar I give her makes a bigger difference because it's not owed, it's given. I'm giving you money to support my children. I don't owe you money to support my children. So when you change that paradigm, things begin to change. And that's really what I hope and pray for, because I have a great relationship with my children. I just don't have a good relationship with the mother because I have a debt with her that is being supported by the Attorney General and it's being enforced by the courts.
Right, keeping the family divided.
Exactly.
That's why they call it the family support division, to divide the families.
Exactly.
Yep. But I appreciate you doing this testimony, brother. Anything else you want to say before you go?
I just encourage, all the men out there and maybe even women to fight the fight, seek remedy, and you don't have a better person on your side than Yah is magnified. So I look forward to fighting the courts another day and prevailing, and the next time I prevail, we'll do another testimony. But guys, keep up the fight. It's worth it.
It's worth it. I try to tell them. Thanks for this testimony, brother. I really appreciate that. Well, I ain't gonna hold you up. I know you gotta get back to your day. I'll be posting this testimony up probably once I get off the phone with you.
Sounds good. All right. Well, I will wait to hear from you for further action.
All righty.
All right. Take care.
All right, no problem. Peace. All right, so that's all I'm gonna do for today. You all, if you need my help, hit me up in my email at yahismagnified@gmail.com. Serious inquiries only. Be ready to fight. You come over here, be ready to fight, be ready to stand on, what you know. And don't be intimidated, okay? Because they will try intimidation and scare tactics. Okay? So again, with that being said, you all be blessed. Shalom.